Well, my name is Dr. Myron J. Parks, and I work as the adult student retention coordinator. And it looks like we got my slides online here. And I have my contact information here again, Dr. Myron J. Parks, adult student retention coordinator. And I love the position that I hold because, like you, I was an adult learner. I didn't start school until I was 26. So I'm a product of a position very similar to this. So I have a special place in my heart for the adult learner. So I'm glad to have you this morning, as I said, on the title page there, and we will move right along. Do you feel the need to be more organized and more productive? Do you spend your day in a frenzy of activity and wonder why you don't get more accomplished? It is my desire that once we finish this presentation, a few of the tips and some of the things that I give you this morning will help you to be better prepared to not only be a better adult learner, but to have a better hold on time management as a whole in your life. Let's talk about how this presentation is going to be delivered. First, I'm going to give you some time management tips that are going to help you in your overall general sense of time management. And then later in the presentation, I'm going to give you some tips as an adult learner as you matriculate through your academic program of study on your way to your degree. Realizing that time management is a myth. As I was preparing for this presentation, I learned something that I didn't really take into account, but it's not about necessarily managing time, it's managing yourself under the constraints of time. There are only 24 hours in a day, so you have to best use every minute of those 24 hours to be productive and efficient. So it's more about you as a person as it is trying to manage time. The cats on my slide represent the old myth of trying to herd cats. It's nearly impossible. There's no pause button for us to push throughout a day as it relates to time management. So hopefully as we go through this presentation, you'll get tips to better manage yourself through the constraints of time. Oh, the time busters, the time bandits rather. I am the world's worst. I enjoy Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, all the things that can kind of infiltrate your ability to be efficient. Nothing wrong with those platforms or those apps. They're entertaining, they're informative, but they can also creep into your being effective on your jobs, with your families, in your academic programs. And I provided some statistics there that show that 2% of the people polled wasted 5 or more hours in their day on platforms like that. That's more than half of an 8-hour workday. So you kind of want to get yourself to a point where you're around that 30 minutes daily, get 15-minute breaks per day, or 2 15-minute breaks typically for an 8-hour day. So that would fit perfectly. So if you find yourself on the lower end of that scale, try to work yourself in a way that you aren't wasting as much time on what we call time bandits. Prioritize ruthlessly and with intention. The first term that jumped out at me with this was a triage. Have a triage type mentality. In the medical field, at a clinic or an emergency room, physicians are very good at being able to ascertain and prioritize patients. And it's very similar when it comes to your list of tasks that you need to complete during a day. You need to list those things in importance and handle them accordingly. So triage the number of things and the list that you have to do daily with a mindset of prioritizing and triaging. Learn to delegate and outsource. It almost seems obvious that delegating would make it easier for you because you would have more people doing the task, but a lot of times we don't delegate because we fail to train. And what I mean by that is when we delegate or give tasks that we typically do to other people to perform, we don't do a good job of training them to do it in the manner that you would do it or to do it correctly. And so you end up either doing double work or you're not as efficient as you would be if you train the people or the personnel so that you had more confidence in them doing the task. And if you're in a position where you aren't leading and you're being led, it's very important that you request the training that's required for you to be effective. So the cousin or the sibling to delegation is training. Don't waste time waiting. Love this slide because with all the benefits and the opportunities that we have for technology in our pockets, whether it be our cell phones, whether it be iPads or laptops, you always have your courses or the ability to read an article right at your fingertips. Find yourself waiting at the dentist's office, at the doctor's office, in line somewhere. You can always familiarize yourself with your assignments or the tasks or the things that you need to do. It may not be as in-depth as it would be if you were at your office, but that time you spend familiarizing yourself with your list of things to do is gold. Now we'll move on to the tips that are going to help you as an adult learner. First thing we want to do is establish priorities. And this priority list is very similar to the list that I mentioned earlier in the presentation. You want to take your syllabus early into the class, and you want to list out your deadlines, your due dates. If you have group work, what's your role in that group? When should you have your work to your group to be able to submit it on time? The time you'll spend, maybe an hour or so, doing this will help you throughout the course of the class because you'll be organized. And not only will it help you, but it'll help any groups or any teams that you happen to be on in that particular class. So establish priorities, get your syllabus, and earmark your due dates and your deadlines. Know yourself. If you're a morning person, try to do your work then because you're most effective. If you're a night owl and that's when you prefer to do your work, then by all means try to schedule and move your things around so that you can do it then. But I do have to caution you that over the course of an entire cohort or a program of study, you're probably not going to be able to do your work when you always want to do it. So be flexible and just make sure you earmark enough time to turn in and do quality work. Sleep and be healthy. Stress reduces poor work and sleep helps promote it. So I know the myth of getting 8 to 10 hours is probably a myth for most of us. We probably don't get that, but you can still try. Stress reducers, whether it be exercising, walking, running, just mindless activities are good things to have in your wheelhouse as you matriculate through your program of study, because you can't be all work, no play, because you'll burn out. Build in flexibility. Adult learners need to be flexible. I mentioned that when it came to doing your work when it's most convenient for you or when you feel like you're at your most effective. You have to be flexible because, as I tell the students that I advise, it's not a matter if life is going to occur while you're in your program. It's a matter of when. When life happens, your first move can't be or shouldn't be to drop the class or to drop the program because it's kind of unrealistic to think that over an 18-month period, a 2-year period, God knows a 4-year period, that life isn't going to occur. If you have children, you have a spouse, you have all these anniversaries, your kids are playing sports, and you still have to maintain a presence in that. And so you have to be flexible and you have to plan around that. It's doable and it's possible. Let the little things add up. The chances of you getting 8 hours, 4 or 5 hours to sit down with your laptop to write a paper are slim enough. And so just as we discussed, having your laptop or your iPad available for you when you have idle time to be able to familiarize yourself with articles or reading material that you need to get read, those things add up. The elephant represents the old adage, you can't eat an elephant in one bite, you have to do it a bite at a time. And the same is true with the assignments that you'll have throughout your program, one bite at a time. Know when it's survival time, midterms, finals. At that particular time, it's what I call DEFCON 1. Military term, I'm prior service. I get clowned sometimes for use of military terms, but basically what that means is that it's time for you to lock in and get your work done. I have a family represented there. I have friends represented on my slide there. And then I also have a reminder that if you have time to take time off during those times in your program of study to do your schoolwork, to get calibrated, to know where you're at, to have your stuff turned in on time, and just let the people around you, your support systems, know that you're in that stage in your program. Know when it's celebration time. Very similar to how I asked you to take your syllabus, set up your deadlines, do the same with milestones in your program. If you know there's an area within your class that you struggle, and you know that assignment's coming up, nothing in the world wrong with putting, a spot on your calendar to celebrate, to go out and celebrate the fact that you made an A in a course that you or an assignment that you thought you would. That's very important because it keeps the fire lit, it keeps you motivated. Compromise. At times there will not be enough time to get things done the way you want. And I love this saying, sometimes you have to trade excellence for efficiency. As an adult learner, I mentioned earlier, you have a significant other, you may have children, you may be on a board, there may be several other productive, viable things in your lives that you can't put on hold that require your time. And so I oftentimes tell the students that I advise not to beat yourself up because you feel like you know the material, you know that course, and you feel like you should have made an A in that course or on that assignment. But the difference is the earlier you may have very well done that. But now the you that's spread kind of thin, it's hard to do it all. So don't beat yourself up if you have to trade in excellence for efficiency. Concluding, getting a college degree is a cumulative process and a comprehensive process. Not only are you becoming a master of a curriculum, but you're becoming a master of self. And I think that pursuing a degree, it not only speaks to your expertise in that field, it speaks to the well-roundedness of the person. So use this opportunity to become a well-rounded person academically and as in a whole. Do I have any questions? If no questions, I appreciate you accommodating me. I appreciate you dealing with my technical difficulties there on the front end, and I look forward to seeing you in future presentations. Thank you very much.